Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm really excited about just delving in today because there's so much going on in our world with COVID-19 and all the coronavirus stuff, and leadership is just having a hard time dealing with it. So I want to talk a little bit about the leadership and how to deal with that, especially from a Christian perspective. So I'm going to look at a couple of different sides of it, and hopefully you find something helpful to you. So let's go. So it's really interesting because there's so much happening right now with it, and the virus is spreading, and there's kind of panic and chaos in a lot of ways. I mean, you know, there's no toilet paper at Costco, there's no water bottles, and we're all confused as to how it comes together and why these things are the things that are in shortage, but they are in shortage. So before I kind of get too far into it, I just want to talk a little bit about that. See, yesterday I posted this image on my Instagram, and it got a lot of play because it's just a quote from Scripture, and it simply says, "Wash your hands, you sinners." And I said, you know, it's been there the whole time. We've known the cure for this the whole time, but people liked it, and I actually took it from someone else, another church planter who took that picture. I assume he took that picture, and so I apologize if that was you. I did not give you credit in Instagram, but there it is. So a lot of people reacted to that. A lot of people liked that. We also shared something from our church account that was similar. It was about not panicking. It was about trusting God through uncertainty and all those sorts of things. Now, I've seen lots of reactions, and I've seen big reactions and small reactions. I've seen churches say we're not going to meet and we're just going to have online services, which, I mean, that could very well happen to any of our churches, depending on our community and what's going on in our community. Some of us are underreacting, some of us are overreacting. So I want to provide some clarity into a good way to handle this today. And this is not my wisdom. I'm gaining this from other people, and I'm sharing what I'm learning. So I hope that this is helpful for you. Now, here's a graphic, excuse me, that I saw on one of my Facebook friends' feeds, or it came across my feed, and someone who lives in San Francisco. It says, San Francisco to ban large events, reportedly including Warriors games. So we already know this. We already know that it's labeled a pandemic. We already know that, like, virtually every pro sporting league has decided, hey, let's suspend the league. Let's not do this, because they can't just have empty arenas or they're going to lose tons and tons and tons of money. So there's a lot going on, and if they're taking it seriously, that's a big deal. We even have a basketball player who contracted the virus, who had been seen several days earlier touching all the mics and kind of playing around about it. So this is not a time to play around, guys. It's not a time to play around. Let's not kid ourselves. It could happen to any of us, right? So here's something from the World Health Organization. This is simply good information that I saw. Let me see if I can start this thing over. So stay aware of the latest information. Here's steps to prevent. Avoid touching your eyes and mouth. Cover your mouth. Avoid crowded places. Stay home if you feel bad. If you have a fever, cough, seek medical attention. Stay aware of the latest information. It's very simple, right? That's just the best information we have so far. We have no vaccine or anything, but you guys understand all that. I think we get that. Now, I want to share with you two different reactions that I've seen, or one's a reaction to the coronavirus on a Christian perspective, and then another one is a piece of a sermon from Life Church from Craig Gershell. And so I want to show you both of those and kind of talk about the differences between the different reactions. So here's the first reaction, and this is a meme going around TikTok. They're using the song "It's Corona Time," and it's whatever. So here it is.
It's Corona time. Hey, it's Corona time right now.
So I actually like Colin. He's a great guy. I think he's doing a lot on TikTok. He's reaching a lot of people on TikTok. He does a lot of live videos. But let's just go back here. Nothing to fear when you're covered and protected by God. I understand that. In fact, Psalm 91, like if you would read that, you'd be like, wow, the promise of God is that he will protect you. If he is your shelter, he will protect you from everything and anything that ever comes your way. The problem I have with this, he's on spring break. He went to Florida, and I don't think he should be fearful at all either. Like, I agree with him on that. Like, fear is not the answer, especially from a Christian perspective. But being careful, being aware, like, don't be reckless about it, right? So don't fear anything, but understand, just because you follow Jesus, just because he loves you, doesn't mean you won't get sick. I'm just telling you that's the truth. You could still get sick even though he loves you, even though you follow him. And I don't want you to think that you're immune to a virus or a disease because you follow him. Now, let's kind of swing the other way and let's look at another reaction. It's not actually a reaction, but it's a piece of a sermon that I think really speaks to this crisis we're in.
Good news is not that Jesus delivers you from your pain. The good news is that Jesus delivers you from your sin. The good news is that his grace is here, that he is real, and he is working in all things. He never promised you your girlfriend wouldn't break up with you, you wouldn't lose your job, and your plumbing wouldn't back up. Following Jesus isn't about having life the way you want it on earth. It's actually about denying yourself, taking up your cross, dying to self, to follow him. This world is temporary. This world is passing. This world is fading away. And that's why Jesus said this. He said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world.
Okay. So obviously, what he's preaching contradicts what Colin was saying. And I tend to agree with Craig that Jesus promises if we can have anything in this world, it's that we're going to have trouble. Now, we'll have peace through that trouble, and God will be with us through that trouble, but there will be trouble. There will be trouble. We all know this. You experience it. I've experienced it. We've lost people we love. Like, you will have trouble. You will stump your toe. Like, I once had a guy tell me that God promises any follower of his that he will protect your toe. Like, you'll never stub your toe. I'm like, well, I know that's not true because I definitely have. So we just need to be careful as Christians. Like, let's be smart. We don't need to be fearful at all. Like, our boldness should not fade. We need to stay engaged in serving. We need to stay engaged in the community. We should not shy away from helping people and all that kind of stuff. But understand, there's a risk that we get sick, right? There's a risk that we contract the virus. Now, most likely, most of the people watching this, if you contracted the virus, you would get well. Like, there would be no long-term effect on you. But I just want you to understand, like, just because you follow Jesus and just because he loves you does not mean you will not have trouble in this world. You will. Jesus promises it. In fact, people like John the Baptist, right? He was beheaded in Jesus's lifetime. Like, he was beheaded. I mean, come on. If that's not an indication that the idea that, oh yeah, nothing bad will ever happen to me, then I don't know what is. Okay, so, and most of the first century Christians, most of the leaders of the first century Christian church, like, they died gruesome deaths, but they were not afraid, and they spread the gospel like wildfire, and they have their heavenly reward, no doubt. So the fear, the idea that you shouldn't be fearful, is that you shouldn't be fearful of any of these consequences of life. You shouldn't be fearful of death. You shouldn't be fearful of getting sick. You shouldn't be fearful of anything because you know where you're going. That's the whole point. You know where you're going, right? Jesus has paid the debt for your sin. You know where you're going, so you don't have to be afraid. So let's look at, just for a moment, just for kicks and giggles, which is a phrase that I think is hilarious. I'm going to bring up a blog post from Kerry Newhoff, a pastor in Canada, he's a leadership guy. He's awesome. I'm going to bring up what he says on his latest blog post that just came out, like right before I started doing this video. I read this blog post and I thought it was really, really good. And it was about leadership in crisis. So crisis leadership, Christian leadership, and the coronavirus epidemic. So I'm just going to skip down. I'm going to read the bullet points, and you can go ahead and check it out. Go look at it on your own. But basically he says anytime there's a crisis that our leadership needs to figure out how to deal with. So here's his pointers on how to respond as a leader, and he's learning these himself. He's learned these himself. Man, I can't talk today. And so I want to pass on those things. So the first thing he says is practice leadership, not reactionship. So don't just react to things and go overboard and believe the hype, right? Like that's not helpful. Whoops, sorry. I was trying to play a sound effect, but I guess that doesn't work like that. Practice leadership, not reactionship. Too many leaders practice reactionship and crisis, not leadership. Your job isn't to just react to what's happening, it's to lead people in light of what's happening. Okay, number 2, embrace sacrifice, not selfishness. You can go back and read the whole thing yourself. I'm just giving you the highlights. Embrace sacrifice, not selfishness. So don't just try to hoard things for yourself, right? Shoppers, like don't just get all the toilet paper in the world for yourself. That's selfish. That's self-seeking. But sacrifice for others. Share with others who are in need, as the New Testament teaches us constantly. And he talks about Mother Teresa's legacy and how she wasn't hoarding supplies for herself, and she was wise and all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's keep going. Number 3, gather wise counsel to check your natural instincts, because we all have a natural response, a natural instinct. My natural response is this will all be gone in 2 weeks. It'll be whatever. However, we need to be smart, and I need to ask people around me, like, am I underreacting? Am I over, so I need to have health professionals that I'm consulting with, leadership people I'm consulting with, city officials that I'm consulting with, as we make decisions about having services, not having services, if things progress and affect our local community, which they really haven't so far, but we're watching. If they do, then we have to make some decisions, right? Number 4, communicate clearly. So you want to acknowledge the problem as it breaks it down, acknowledge the problem to the people, let them know that your head's not in the sand, that you're aware. Acknowledge both sides, like I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to acknowledge both sides, the dangers, the warnings, but also don't overhype this, don't make it bigger than it is. Be clear about the decisions that you make as leadership. Be clear. State the option you've selected right now. For us as a church, we've selected the option to continue meeting as normal, but we're not going to be shaking hands and giving hugs. We're going to avoid contact as much as possible. We're doing our due diligence of cleaning, especially children's ministry supplies and things like that. We're being careful, but we're not at the point in our community where we would not meet, right? That could change, but right now that's our decision. Tell people why. And as Simon Sinek points out, always says, start with why. Then point to hope. Because it's a crisis, people want hope to cling on to. And that's what Colin's trying to do when he's saying, I'm covered and protected. He's trying to give some hope, but he's just giving a little bit out of context, I think. Stop the spin. This isn't a political thing. This isn't about how leaders are handling it. This is about... businesses don't want to go bankrupt. People don't want to lose their life savings. We understand all that, yes. But let's not spin this into some big partisan thing. Okay, number 6, look for opportunity in the midst of all the obstacles. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to see what's our opportunity here. How are we going to, how do we use this for the future? I think there's probably going to be, this is just a prediction, there's going to be more of these situations happening, viruses and whatnot, with the ability for us to travel all over the world within a day or two, like viruses that are previously unknown to other areas of the world that could wreak havoc. New things will develop. It's just inevitable, right? And I think that there's going to be more and more things like this that are going to cause people to second guess whether we should even gather as the church, particularly larger churches. And I want to say, like, it's okay. Calm down. Things are going to be okay. Things are going to turn out okay. But we need to be smart, but we don't need to freak out. hopefully that's helpful. So look for opportunity in the midst of these obstacles. What I was trying to say is there's going to be a lot more of these opportunities and obstacles ahead in the decades to come. Assuming we have decades to come, you never know when Jesus is going to come back. But anyway, so he talks about improving your digital online experience, helping your city, being a broker of hope for others, deep in trust with others. So he's got a lot of stuff. I encourage you to go read the article for yourself. Very good, because I'm not giving it justice and I'm just sort of flying over the top of this thing. But let me get this out of my face. All right, so that's what I want to talk to you about today. I want to talk to you about not overreacting. I want to talk about taking it seriously, but not overreacting. I hope that it's been helpful a little bit to you. And I've got one more image that I want to show you, because this is a quote from our message from last week at Two Cities Church, and it's this: "Don't worry and don't hurry." And this is really taken out of the story of Jesus healing the son of a aristocrat, and the guy's trying to bring Jesus back with him, right, to heal his son, and Jesus is like, listen, he's going to be okay. Go back and see your son, but you don't need to worry and you don't need to hurry. Like, you don't need to make it there before his fever takes him over until he dies. Like, don't worry. Everything's going to be okay. And I think that's a good place to leave my comments for today. And so I hope this is informative in some way, helpful in some way, or that I've led you into a better understanding of at least how we're making decisions here in our local community. And there's a lot of misinformation out there, but there's a lot of good information. And one piece of information we all need to take seriously is washing those hands, right? So God bless you guys, and thank you for hanging out with me for a few minutes today, and I hope this was helpful to you. But until next time, I guess I'll see you later. God bless.